Well, hello everyone. My name is Brian Stevens. I have the honor of being the President and CEO of the Hampton Roads Chamber, and this is another edition of the Hampton Roads Chamber Chat. We are very fortunate today to have with us Mr. Ronnie Parker. Ronnie Parker is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for the Hampton Roads Chamber. And Ronnie, I want to congratulate you on being selected for that position. What does it mean to be in that position and represent DE&I in our business community?
Well, Brian, first and foremost, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. DE&I means a lot to me. So especially the DE&I role, it's an opportunity for me to bring some outside of the box thinking in the box. You know, I'm very privileged to sit in a lot of the conversations with some of the regional thought leaders and CEOs in the region. And it's different to have that perspective. And now with the DE&I role, I can bring some of that outside of the box thinking to that inner circle and look at some of the areas where we can make some corrections, make some adjustments, and really advance the business community in the right direction.
Well, I can tell you, you're the right person at the right time to take on that role. So thank you very much for doing it and for all that you're doing now and will do. I was very pleased at reading your op-ed in Inside Business back this past week, and you talked about the importance of Black History Month. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Tell us why Black History Month is so important, and what is Black History Month, and what is it we should be doing this month?
No, Brian, absolutely. And some people don't know, you realize just hear Black History Month. It actually started as Black History Week by Dr. Carter Woodson. So it started as a week to represent the achievements and the scholarships of the Black community in the United States of America. Gerald Ford, obviously the president, said, hey, we're gonna recognize this as Black History Month. Okay. And so now it's a month-long recognition of Black accomplishments. And for me, it's important as a DE&I officer to recognize that Black History Month and the achievements are American achievements. So I continue to strive to push for those achievements as a united group instead of just separate silos.
Yeah. You know, when I read your article and I did a little research of my own, it's absolutely amazing at the monumental accomplishments of African Americans to our history and all the things that they brought. And I was focusing in on specifically business men and women of color and what they've accomplished. And that's one of the things that we want to focus on, because we want more men and women of color to make tremendous contributions to our business community. Now, Ronnie, you've been working at the Chamber for some time now, and so you have a perspective of the business community. Why is it important for us to address DE&I in the business community right now?
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. Business leaders, business owners will tell you that they want to grow. They want to grow their revenue. They want to grow their organization. They want to expand. So from a DE&I perspective, we're looking at how we can help that expansion by making sure we're inclusive of others. So now we're talking about supplier diversity. Now we're talking about diversification of products. And we're talking about a market of consumers that are out there that we just don't know they're out there because we don't make that connection. We don't have that collaboration. So for me, for DE&I, especially for the Chamber, it's important for us to spread that message of collaboration, connection, and show that there's other revenues out there for businesses to achieve and reach for that are just waiting for our call.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and you and I have had this conversation before, and I've heard you say it, that diversity and inclusion in the business community is now a business imperative.
Absolutely.
It's just not a program that companies should be running. It's an imperative. You want to be success. You want to have success as a business in the year of our Lord 2021. You have to be diverse and you have to be inclusive. Absolutely. And so I appreciate you promoting that as well.
That's right.
You know, you have specific goals and objectives, I know, this year. You've talked to me about some things that you as a DE&I officer want to accomplish this year. Could you share with us some of those goals and objectives?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're looking at making an actual difference. We're looking at some action items. We're looking at engaging with our business community. We're looking at empowering them to make sure that they can get diverse, inclusive, and equitable initiatives in their organization. And then we want to evaluate to make sure that we're doing what needs to be done. So by doing so, we're going to make sure that our programs internally as well represent the business community. So who are we highlighting when we do certain programs and events? what are the people that are attending our events look like, and what are their needs so that we can address them. So we want to make sure we're putting the best programming forward so that we can also give that information to our business community and also show that we're inviting others that might not know who we are as a chamber.
Yeah, wow, that's fantastic, and look forward to seeing all that being accomplished this year. But you know, Ronnie, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and businesses are struggling right now, and as you know, working at the chamber, we're doing everything we can to help them. You know, it is our job to set the conditions so that businesses could be a success. We do it in good times as well as bad times and struggling times. In fact, I'd argue it's even more important what we're doing now.
Yes.
But is DE&I something we should be addressing in the middle of a pandemic?
Right, that's a good question, and one that I often hear. So I'm going to try to make it as plain and simple. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, Bryan, it's a recipe. And you've got to have the right ingredients to have that perfect recipe. And it's got to taste good, and you've got to know what you're getting with that recipe. And especially during now the time of the pandemic, we're all looking for answers. We're all looking to recover. We are the chamber. Our committee is working closely with the 757 recovery team to make sure we've got the right ingredients for this recipe and bringing us back to where we were as an economy. So right now is no better time than ever to make sure that we are addressing diversity, equity, and inclusion as we're all going through changes, as we're all trying to figure out how we can recover as a business community. Now is the time to say, hey, let's look at where we are as an inclusive group. Do we have the right people at the table, and how do we get them here so we can make sure that we can move forward together?
Yeah, that's a great answer. I agree with you 100%. This is something we have to address. As we continue to recover from the pandemic, we need to address the issues, challenges, concerns of our minority business leaders as well. You mentioned your committee, and I got to tell you, I'm very impressed with that committee. I had the honor of sitting in your committee meeting a couple of weeks ago. So could you share with our audience a little bit about that committee, maybe who's on it, and what's that committee doing?
No, that's you great point. It was very important for us to make sure that the Diversity and Inclusion Committee of the Chamber is a representative of our region. Mm-hmm. So we're led by our Vice Chair, NECA Chiazor with Cox Communications. NECA is very well versed and engaged in the DE&I space.
Yes, she is.
It means something to her, so we're honored to have her leadership. We have Felicia Blow with Hampton University. She really brings a different light. She's been with the chamber for a while.
Yeah,
so
very engaged.
She's saying where we've started and where we've come now.
Yeah.
We've got leaders such as Ron Carley, professors with ODU. So Ron also trains on his own in these spaces. And we've got people from all backgrounds that are really looking at the disability community.
Yeah.
We've got veteran leaders and Bob Pizzini and General Ron Lewis who just bring a different perspective. So we're almost a melting pot of a committee that we can go out and say there's nothing that we can't address. And if we're not having the right people at the table now, we're open to make sure we get everyone at the table.
Yeah. You know, as you were talking and as I reflect on that committee meeting, that committee is actually emblematic of what we're trying to create in the business community, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Like you said, it's a melting pot. It's different perspectives all coming together to try to figure out solution sets to the issues, challenges, concerns of the business community. So I love it. I applaud your leadership in pulling that committee together, and the leadership of NECA and the rest of the people on that committee. Ronnie, do you feel that we're heading in the right direction? I mean, there's just so many challenges out there, so many obstacles to overcome, so much systemic issues that exist in our business community and in our community at large. Are we heading in the right direction? Do you really feel you can make a difference?
Right, absolutely. You know you're headed in the right direction when people are reaching out to you saying, what can I do?
Yeah.
How can I help? And these are conversations I have on a daily basis. You know, it's not just me reaching out saying, you've got to do this, you should address this area. People want to be engaged. They want to know what they don't know, and they want to make sure that they have those connections to those groups that are asking to be a part of the conversation. And in having these conversations, I recognize that we're moving forward.
Yeah, I think you are too, and I'm really proud of the accomplishments. You know, I think it was Martin Luther King that made the comment about a staircase. I forget what the exact quote was, but he said, you don't have to see the top of the staircase. You just need to take that first step and then the next step. And I think that's what you're trying to do within the business community, just one step at a time. And as you take those steps, Ronnie, and as we close, what do you see as the end state? If we are successful over the next couple of years, what does the end state look like?
Yeah, Bryan, I appreciate it. And as we've discussed, and I know I've discussed with many business leaders, this is not an overnight solution. We don't have the answer right now. If we did, I'm sure that all of us would provide it. But what I can say is that we hope to become that resource as a chamber for the business community. We want to make sure that if we can't provide all the answers to you, the end goal is to make sure we have those connections so that people can reach out and get the answers they need. I would love to see at some point maybe an organization set up that says, hey, if you're looking for somebody that has a different bilingual language or background from our organization, I can connect them to that resource. I'd love to see something that says, hey, if we want Braille in our organization, we have a connection, say, hey, I have something that connects you to those resources. So there's all sorts of resources that are out there. The end goal is really to make sure that those resources are visible, that they're available for the business community, and that people know how to connect with each other when they're trying to make that difference.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? You know, and I know it's an oversimplification, but my thought is that within the business community, that every individual, regardless of their race, their color, their religion, who they love, disabilities, whatever, they have an equal opportunity to succeed based on their performance and their potential and nothing else.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's what we're trying to do. Everybody has an equal opportunity to succeed. So Ronnie, again, I want to thank you for your leadership in this space. I think it's an extremely important initiative for this chamber. Like I said, I appreciate your leadership and all that you're going to do here in the near future.
Thanks, Bryan.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes another chamber chat. I hope you found it informative, and we'll be back with you in a couple of weeks with our next chamber chat. So again, thank you very much. Stay safe out there.